Hey, this is Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanisms in Trails of Tucana, a game that I don't own, but I took some photos of it when I played the other day. It is a roll and write style game, or a flip and write in this case, where you're flipping some cards and using those cards to draw routes on this map that you have. You can see my map right here. So let's turn it that way. There you can see my map a little more properly. And I didn't even write it down as one of my favorite mechanisms, but the card flip mechanism itself is really cool. Basically, the game is having you draw little routes between two adjacent hexes. So for example, and you're flipping two cards up. So if a green card comes up, a forest and a desert card come up, that means you need to find a forest hex that is adjacent to a desert hex and then draw a line between them. And you can kind of see that on my photo here. A couple mechanisms, though, that I really like about the game, and I do like that mechanism too. Part of it is that this is a really clever game in that it offers asymmetry in a roll and write game, and it does it in a way that doesn't imbalance the game. It gives players an interesting choice. You can kind of see on this map here, I don't know if you can see it here, but there are letters in certain hexes. And so at the beginning of the game, a card is flipped that shows a bunch of letters just in a circle. It doesn't associate them with a map directly. It just shows letters in a circle. And each player has to choose one of those letters as a starting point and write it down in any of the hexes around this board where letters are supposed to go. And then they continue writing down the rest of the letters in the same order as presented on that card. So for example, if like B is the start or D is the starting letter, I chose to put it here. I wish I could get this to focus. Okay, I chose to put it here, and then I had to put all other letters around the circle in the same order as shown on the card. But another player might put an A there, and then they have to carry out, or they might put the D in another starting place and carry out the clockwise order from there. It basically lets every player have the same map, but letters in different places, and that matters in this game because one of the things that you're trying to do is connect both D's. I give you an example of a D there. There are two D's out there. I'm trying to connect them with lines across the board. So I like that little hint of asymmetry in a game that, in terms of the way that you print it, is not asymmetric. One other little thing before I get to probably my favorite mechanism, and that is round-to-round points. So that you play this game in either 2 or 3 rounds. We played the kind of the deluxe side of the board, and that involved 3 rounds. But there are some connections that you're making, just little objects on the board that you are trying to connect back to letters. And when you do, you get to circle one of them and get a point. And when you circle the third one, you get some extra points, and you get to draw an extra line. But you don't get those points right away. Rather, these are round-to-round points. So it gives you a little sense of progression throughout the game, a little reason to go after some of these connections early in the game, because at the end of each round, you'll score those points. So for example, if I've connected, here's a toucan over here in a book. Say I'm getting 3 points from that toucan in the book at the end of the first round. If I do nothing with toucans and books, at the end of the second round, again, I will get 3 points. And then maybe I'll get some more toucans and books connected, and I'll get more points at the end of the next round. I really like that sense of progression. But last, though, the core aspect of the game, I mentioned these lines that you're drawing. And it's an interesting style of route connection. Some other games have it, but I haven't seen it in a roll and write game as far as I can recall, where you were trying to connect all these things. I mentioned that you're trying to connect the letters, and you're trying to connect these icons back to the letters, and you're essentially ending up with a spider web. This isn't a great photo to show the spider web, but of routes out here, because each route can connect with the other route. So if I have a line going from A to A across the board, there are other lines that can touch into those lines and then automatically connect to A. And that is very satisfying. There are moments in the game where I was like, oh, wow, how am I going to get this sea serpent from the middle of the board way over here if I've been working on stuff down here early on in the game? But then I realized that I had this route that just happened to be going by the sea serpent, and that route was already connected to the letter, and I connected that sea serpent to that route with a single line, and with that single line, it got all the way back to a letter that I had already connected. That was very satisfying in this game to find that out and start to do that as the game emerged. So you want lines that are connected to or that are near a lot of other hexes so that you can quickly and easily connect those other hexes to the lines that you've already drawn. Really satisfying form of route connection. I would say the game that I think of when I think of this type of route connection is Ticket to Ride, the classic game. Because in Ticket to Ride, you have these routes and they're established, they're not moving, and you can connect to them once you've already established those routes. Very similar feeling. So if you like Ticket to Ride, I would highly recommend this flip and write game, Trails of Tucana. Those are my favorite mechanisms in this game. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you've played Trails of Tucana or if any of these mechanisms remind you of another game that you really enjoy. Thanks.